This is The Competitive Edge with Steve Sims. Welcome to The Competitive Edge. My name is Scott Britton, and I'm here to help you answer a question that we all have. How can I get an edge in my business and life? Each week, we're going to uncover how some of the most successful and inspiring entrepreneurs, entertainers, and thought leaders get an edge so you too can reach your full potential. Do you want more unique ideas and tactics like the ones we're about to share in this episode? Then you're going to want to do two things. The first is to subscribe to The Competitive Edge on iTunes so that you don't miss out on new ideas from future conversations. After this, you're going to want to go check out my main site, lifelonglearner.com. When you enter in your email address to join the Lifelong Learner community, you'll get access to my most advanced strategies to stack the deck in your favor. Again, that's life-longlearner.com. Tell me if any of these things sound cool. Riding exotic cars across the Mojave Desert, traveling to space, getting to play a concert with Journey, one of my favorite 80s band. If I got to do any of these things, I'm pretty sure it would be just my crowning moment of life and the coolest thing I've ever done. And I've always been a type of person that has been a huge fan of spending my money on experiences versus stuff. And today we're going to get a whole lot of conversation around that with our awesome guest, Steve Sims. Steve's the founder of Bluefish, which is the premier executive concierge service in the world. Steve's what I call a dreams dealer. If you can think of an experience for your life that you want, he figures out a way to make it happen. We're talking all the things I described above, things that I can't even imagine right now that Steve is going to tell us about in this episode. Now, I wanted to have Steve on the show because A, he's got a lot of cool stories, but in order to do some of these things and create some of these things to really make magic happen for people, you have to be an incredibly resourceful hustler. And I wanted to learn how Steve thinks about getting someone to play with one of the most famous bands in the world, or convincing who used to be the most important man in Russia to have dinner with one of your clients. Like, how do you actually go about doing that? And Steve is going to give us just all this amazing unconventional wisdom and examples of business cunning that he's used to accomplish these things and that you can use in your own life to ultimately go out there and make the impossible happen. All these things, plus the stories, make this a really awesome episode. And it also doesn't hurt that Steve has a British accent that's pretty easy on the ears as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hear from dreams dealer, Steve Sims. Steve, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you, Scott?
So good. And I think a fun way to start this conversation is when I emailed you to set up this conversation, you said that you had to get back to me a few days later because you were with the Pope. That's not a typical response that I get from people that I email. Why don't we just start off by telling people what the heck you were doing with the Pope?
Well, I had a few people that contacted me and I had to tell them the same thing and they thought I was just full of it. I have a client of mine that wanted to get married and wanted to do it in the most spectacular fashion possible. So he retained me to go over to the Vatican and get him permission to be married at the Vatican. And in doing so, we arranged a public audience with the Pope. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Well, whoever my wife someday ends up being, I hope she doesn't listen to this interview and get any ideas about what our special day will look like.
I'm sure it'll be fantastic regardless.
I'm sure it will too, man. Maybe we can just start off by just telling people a little bit about what the Bluefish actually is.
Do you know, that's a tough one, and it always has been, because to a lot of people it's many different things, but we're really your secret little number that makes your life a little bit more interesting. We're the people you go to when you want exceptional travel, amazing access, or just these bucket list items that you never thought you could get. So we make the Wizard of Oz look an amateur.
That's a pretty cool job, if you ask me.
It's not even a job, is it? It's just brilliant. You wake up in the morning and you just look at the internet to find out on your emails what someone's dreamt up overnight, and then you get to go and play. So every day is just different and wild, and it is really cool. I have an awesome life. It's as simple as that.
Oh, I love it, man. And I hear you too. I am super blessed. And what are some examples of just some of this kind of cool out there stuff that you've helped people accomplish?
Do you know, it just ranges? You know, I've done things like send people down to the Titanic, put people on stage with their favorite rock group to actually perform. I've sent people up to the Himalayas. I've sent them over to follow the Da Vinci Code in Italy. I've put them backstage at fashion weeks. I've sourced them rare jewelry, rare cars, rare handbags. So it's constantly changing, and it's always developing. And every time you do something a little bit wild and wacky, you think, I'm not going to be able to beat that. And then you get some guy phone you up saying, hey, can I get married by the Pope? So it's the more you do, the more you get asked to do, and the crazier it gets.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would love to just spend a day inside your brain, because one of the things that I've learned is that once the mind expands, it never contracts.
Yeah.
And your mindset and just the number of experiences you've had must just have like a profound impact on what you see and think about, and really understand like how limitless life can be.
Yeah, it is. It just really opens your eyes, and you get to envisage, you get to see so much that it just changes your perspective on life in whole.
Now, how does this exactly work? So, okay, maybe somebody hears of the Bluefish and getting married by the Pope. Like, if I'm somebody who wants access to these world-class experiences, what do I do?
Well, first of all, you've got to find my phone number. You'll notice on the website that we don't have phone numbers. We have an email. You've really got to come through a referral, so you're already dialed in. But most people spend a fair bit of time just trying to find out how to contact us first. We get a bunch of these emails going, hey, you know, I'm going to a Broadway show and I want 2 tickets to Wicked because it's sold out. That ain't the kind of stuff we do. We're the kind of people that get Wicked to play in your back garden for you, so it's just for you. So really, you just reach out, you make your email interesting and exciting, put some passion in there because that's what drives us, and then we'll respond if we like the challenge.
I love it, dude. And eventually you guys, if I understand correctly, establish an ongoing relationship where people can, if you decide to work with an individual or entity, you guys can basically have an ongoing relationship where you hook people up with these amazing experiences.
Yeah, we're a membership based company. We're $5,000 a year, and we're a concierge on steroids, basically. So when people come to us and we maybe do some travel for them, or we do some access, or we do a bucket list, we end up taking them on as a full-time client. And then we're available for any of the fun stuff. And even if they think it's not fun, you know, they may have an overnight stay for business in Boston. Well, we'll find out what the top restaurants are there, or maybe how we can make that trip to Boston a little bit more exciting. Or if they're over there and the family at home, then why don't we focus on the family and stop them whining about why he's away and give them something a bit cool to do? We've done that many times.
I heard about the Jonas Brothers story with the father, who was a dentist, and maybe you could just tell that story, because it's amazing and inspiring, and just, I think really just a lot of people will hear this and be like, oh, okay, cool. You plan like exotic travel experiences, and it can be so much more than that.
Well, this dentist was in a profession where we had to travel around to a lot of these seminars, and he was constantly traveling. And the family were obviously getting a bit tired of it, and, you know, quite rightly so. And he said to me that he was down in Miami. Is there anything that we can do? And we found out the Jonas Brothers were actually playing in Miami, and the girls were coming down. So what we did was we got backstage passes so that they could actually hang out with the Jonas Brothers. Now, this is obviously going back a few years. But ever since then, they contact him, and they look forward to him actually going away on travel because they want to be part of it. So we just we put a little bit of a twist in any kind of plot line that we can.
It's the spice of life, man. It really is.
What we try to do, and this can go through to any profession, is we never give people what they paid for, because if you paid for it, you expect it. There's no element of surprise. So we always hold something back, and give them that extra little thing. So it gives them that wow factor. So they may be knowing that they're going down to see Jonas Brothers in Miami. That's not too bad a thing to start with, but they may not know that they're going backstage. So we always try to keep it a bit exciting.
Always over deliver. I love it, man. So I think a question that I certainly have is how do you manage getting access to these world-class experiences? If somebody came to me and said, hey, I want to get married by the Pope, I have no idea what I would do. So I'm very curious to hear how you go about creating these experiences.
Oh dear. Well, the first thing that I've got over you, Scott, is that you're way more intelligent than I am. And I am stunned at how often people's intelligence get in the way of them actually doing something. This has been 18 years I've been doing this. So what I always do is I try to find someone who's one step closer to that amazing access that I need than I am. And through them, I crawl my way up so that by the time I get to the person I want to speak to, I've come from a credible source. And your word, your credibility, that's all you've got in this business. It's all you've got in life. So I'll give you a perfect example. A little while ago, I had a client of mine, and I think you may know about him, Dan Fitzpatrick, that he played with Journey. Did you hear about that?
Dude, Journey was seriously my favorite band in college. The number of times that I sang Don't Stop Believing with my shirt off drinking a beer is far too many than I care to admit.
It's mandatory. But did you hear about what we did with Dan for Journey?
No, I would love to hear it.
All right, so he's on Necker Island with Richard Branson, and Richard Branson's doing this charity thing with Jimmy Buffett. And he says, who would you like to sing with for money to the audience? Dan Fitzpatrick stands up and says, I would love to sing with Journey. And so Richard gave Dan my phone number. And that's a pretty cool thing for a start. And then Dan Fitzpatrick, who's part of Joe Polish's crew, they reach out. And Dan literally says to me, I want to meet Journey. Now, just like you said, when he was at college, he used to be in a cover band for Journey. He's
nice.
Not quite as financially strapped as he was then. So he said, I'd like to do something that can like cements that circle of life and just allows me to meet him. So we started thinking and kicking it around, and we ended up, this is the short story, we ended up sticking him on stage live where he sang 4 tunes with the entire band of Journey and is now registered as the shortest lead singer of Journey. And
wow.
We had a bunch of his friends down there in front row seats, and the band was behind it, and there was a big charity donation that was organized. And the only reason I'm mentioning his name, we never mention clients' names, is because he's a CNBC commentator and goes on about it, I think, about once every 2 weeks. So it's very public knowledge that he did this. Now, we had another client contact us, and this was just cool. This was really cool. He's an Australian dentist, and he collects Gibson guitars, but he doesn't play them. And his standing joke with his wife is, I'm only going to play a guitar when Billy Gibbons teaches me from ZZ Top. So the wife asked us if we could arrange for Billy Gibbons to give him a guitar lesson. Now, I don't know Billy, but I do know Journey now. So I spoke to the management at Journey asking, do any of those know ZZ Top? Lo and behold, it's a small world, 6 degrees of separation. They make a phone call telling this guy, when Sims phones up, it may sound strange, but he's the real deal, take his call. And so I was able to go in, not cold, with basically the momentum of my credibility behind me and the fact that Journey had phoned up Billy and told him I was real.
Wow. You know, it sounds like you're very good at using this concept that actually a previous guest, Shane Snow, who's a writer for all of these publications like Inc. Magazine, Gizmodo, a bunch of different ones. We call it progressive access, where essentially what you can do is kind of like climb up a ladder of, in his case, who he could write for by establishing some credibility with somebody maybe a little bit smaller, and then building off that, and then building off that, and then building off that. And that allowed him access to do all of this writing and all these opportunities that would have seemed incredibly daunting if you just tried to go from zero to hero initially.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's you got to claw your way up, and it all looks very easy now that you're sitting here, as I say, 18 years later, and you can phone up the Vatican. But there's a lot of times when you just scratch your head and you go, how the hell do I get there? And step one is always pick up a phone call and find out who's smarter or closer than you.
I love it, man. This is so cool because I think a lot of people hear this and they go, all right, well, Steve can do this, but I don't have credibility. I don't have contacts. So maybe we could talk about really the origin story of this business and how when you weren't so well connected, you started to create these basically dreams in people's realities.
Well, it's a funny little story. So again, I'll try and keep it short, but I come from a construction firm in London. My whole family were in the bricklaying business. And so I never went to college, never went to university, barely scraped out of school. And a friend of mine works in a bank. And in the 80s, I had the chance of working for him as a runner. And I would just run the trades between different people. And I was able to jump on the phone, and I never had fear phobia. I've noticed so many people have phone phobia. I've noticed so many people are scared to pick up the phone. They would rather email someone than phone them up. And we've got all this technology where we can text, email, do all of these kind of concepts to what they call communicate with someone, but nothing gets over the passion, the tone, the enthusiasm, like picking up that damn piece of plastic.
Amen.
And I still today do that. Before I send an email, I'll phone someone up and I go, hey, I don't want to take your time up. I'm going to follow this up with an email, but I wanted you to hear me first and understand how important it is for this to happen for me. And just get that across. So I used to speak on the phone to different clients, and then I managed to get a job in Hong Kong as a stockbroker. It was my first stockbroker's job. And I landed on the Saturday and I was fired on the Tuesday.
Man, you made quick work of that one.
Shortest career ever. And then I ended up working on the door, just in different clubs and stuff. And I just got to know what people wanted. And then I would shut the club doors early and maybe throw a party on a yacht. And I really never thought this was going to be an industry to me or a business. So I just had a giggle with it. And I used to do parties I liked with people I liked. And if I didn't like them, I wasn't working with them.
That sounds like a good business to be in, my friend.
It was very good. It was very delusional because I really didn't know what I was doing. But it was fun. I had a good time.
You know, I think one thing you touched upon just there and again earlier, and I'm very flattered about the intelligence compliment, although I don't think it's true. You're clearly a very smart guy, is that I think a lot of times we just let, I like to think of it as just like paralysis by analysis, right? We overthink things.
Bingo.
And it prevents us from getting what we want. And it sounds like you've just done a very good job of learning how to avoid that, and maybe some tips that you can have for people and how you think about this when an action might seem a little uncomfortable initially.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to kind of rub your large or anything like that, Scott, but I'm not intelligent, but I am focused. And that's my winning ticket. I have got immense focus and determination. And if you've got intelligence and you've got passion, which one of those is going to get you further? It's simple. And you're right, paralysis by analysis. And I talk to my kids about this. I say, look, while you're thinking about it, someone else is doing it. Maybe good, maybe bad, maybe not really as well as you would have done it, but that foot's already in the damn door. And that's all we need, isn't it? We just need to get that shot, get that chance, and then everything else is just going to come through it. So once you thought you're going to do something, give yourself a timeline. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I would have done that. And do it. Just do it. Even if you do it badly, just do it, because the next time you do it, you'll learn.
And more than anything else, you can at least have the peace of mind that you tried.
is there nothing worse than sitting there looking at an opportunity that just walked past you because you were just working it out on a piece of paper, and by the time you came up with it, someone else had already done it? And again, not as good as you, but too late. You're not going to get a second shot.
It's terrible, man. It's a terrible feeling. It's happened to me. And I actually want to take this opportunity just to share a practice with everyone, because I think this skill of just doing it and intense focus, even in spite of some potential discomfort, is actually a muscle that you can build, and you can condition yourself over time to, in the face of discomfort, say, I'm going to do it anyways. And I've built a habit around this over the past month, really, more intentionally than ever before. Of when I wake up, I ask a series of questions to myself, and they're 4 questions. And it basically is, what decisions or actions do you know you need to take that you've put off? What action makes you completely scared, yet you know taking it would greatly benefit your life? How would it feel to accomplish these actions? And then I finish this prompt that is, today I will create a better future by committing to, and I write down all of those actions that A, make me scared, and B, I know I need to do. And then I just go and do them immediately after. It's the first thing I do in my life, or each day rather. And it's been incredible in terms of what I've been able to accomplish and things I never thought would be possible. But it's also gotten me really good at just not really caring and doing these things that once made me uncomfortable. So it sounds like you, in a similar way, just over the years of just being forced to be resourceful, have built this muscle, which you can condition.
Yes, you can. You can. And once you were saying about your mind never goes back. We're very elastic. Once you've done something that you thought was either going to be difficult for you, uncomfortable for you, or unachievable, once you've done that once, there's a joy, there's an adrenaline rush. Once you've done it twice, you're very excited. Once you've done it 3 times, it's a habit.
That's amazing. Has there ever been something that a request that a client has come to you with, and you just thought, this just isn't possible, yet you were able to pull it out somehow?
I got 2 answers for that, because there's another question that I'm always asked. One of them is, has ever anything been asked that you've never done? There's never been a request, never, that we haven't been able to achieve. Okay? There has been a request, one single request, that we dropped like a hot potato. A client contacted us and wanted to detonate a nuclear warhead.
Whoa.
And there are, sadly, places in the planet where those people are still testing. And nuclear warheads, when they test them, they're not the big scary things. They're actually very small. But at the same effect, I don't want anything to do with that kind of thing. And this guy quite simply said, I want to detonate the most powerful thing in the planet. And we just thought, no, you're not our client. So we went, sayonara, thanks for playing, you're gone. And that was it. We kicked him out. But no, those are 2 answers. But you asked me, is there anything that I didn't think I'd be able to achieve? I think probably anything. When someone came to me and they said about the Vatican, it was the same kind of thing. I don't know the Pope. I didn't know how to get near him. I didn't know how to get access through the Swiss guards. The place is set up tighter than the White House. It's just incredible what you have to go through. But again, going back to that habit forming thing, this was now just a bone in my mouth, and I just had to chomp. And I was excited that there was now a challenge that woke me up. I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning to learn what my next movement was going to be to get me closer. And 2 weeks ago, I turned up at the Vatican. I walked past St. Peter's Square, walked up to the gatehouse of the Swiss Guard, was taken into the verification room, and then given a pass to go back into the Vatican. And wow, that was just insane, just incredible. One of the oldest establishments in the world. And I've been to the White House, I've been to Buckingham Palace, been to the Houses of Parliament. Those things are campsites compared to the Vatican. It's just unbelievable what has happened as you're walking through the rooms of Michelangelo and you're walking down alleys that all the popes have walked down. It's just It's just incredible.
What was the first step that you took when that request was placed in your inbox?
Well, the first thing I did was phone up the client. I wanted to know how serious he was, because you've got to have follow through. Sadly, too many people want things. You know, you get people to phone up and say, "Hey, I want this," and then you phone up and you tell them it's 10 grand, and they go, "Oh, can you do anything for $100?" So the first thing you need to do is find out: does this guy have the ability to pay for this dream, and does he have the passion? Because if he has the money, people get bored with money. People don't tire of what they love. So I needed to know, did he have the passion to see this through? And the passion was abundant with him. So that was the thing that I needed to understand. He could afford it, but more than anything, it was just something that was just so passionate to him and to his future wife. So that urged me to get it done. And the next step was to basically look at, do I have anyone in or around the region? Then you start looking at your Rolodex and you start scattering out a few emails going, "Hey, I've just had this come across my desk. Want to get married to the Vatican. Do you have any suggestions for step number 2? Step number 1, I've just emailed you. Step number 2, what do I have?" And I sent out probably about 20 emails, probably got most of them really rapidly back going, "Good luck with this one. Let me know how you get on, but you're on your own." And then out of the blue, I got one guy said, "No, I can't help you, but I have a friend in Florence that used to work there. Let me make the introduction." And from there, it just went click, 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 and we were all good. And it got me one step closer to finally the person that's been holding my hand through this entire experience. And passion is the greatest drug in the world. If you're sat next to someone and you're having a shitty day and that person's crying with laughter or enjoyment, or you got an old couple holding their hands, all your cares go away. They say the bad news sells. You stick someone next to someone that's just madly happy, and you'll get off on that.
You know, it's funny. So many things are present with me right now, but I actually was dating this girl pretty recently who is a psychotherapist, and she did a thesis on this thing called mirror neurons, which apparently, like, however you behave at a biochemical level, people will mirror that behavior. So if what that means is like, if you go around and you're just exuding joy and happiness, people around you are more likely to exude joy and happiness. If you go around and you say hi to a stranger, that person's more likely to say hi to a stranger later in their day. And I just thought that was such a cool thought that really just personified exactly what you say. It actually happens at the biochemical level.
It does. And you get off. It's my drug of choice. It's not money. It's not drink. It's passion. Seeing someone, and this is my end goal, seeing that person walk into the chapel to get married by the Pope, that's the thing that's going to get my rocks off.
Amazing, man. And I love that. I mean, a high quality life is just one full of high quality emotions, and you've found your emotion that you want to live in, man. And now you just know how to create it, which is so cool.
I have to create it because it's my drug of choice. So I'm always waiting for the next person to challenge me.
You know, one thing that I would love to pick your brain about, man, is I think that I'm like you. I think passion and determination wins over intelligence every time. And yep. I think another one too is just resourcefulness. And that's a skill that people in this community want to build. I think it's a skill that's paramount to our ability to just to build the lives that we want. And I'd love to hear just some of the things that you've learned in this process of creating these world-class experiences about resourcefulness.
Wow, that's a kind of big loaded question.
Maybe we could chunk this down by when somebody, let's say you try something and it doesn't work immediately, or you even get a no. Like, how do you think about how to handle that?
All right. Well, the first thing is if you ask a question that is going to allow them to say no, then you should never ask that question. Okay? So you want to ask them a question like, how many events a year do you do in the Vatican? You can't say no to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be really awkward if they did.
It would. What are the style of events that have happened? So are these more sociable events or are they more religious events? You're now funneling it down so you can get in the arena that you then get vulnerable where you get down to the yes and the no's. So how was that event planned? How does one go about securing something like that? What needs to be the steps to get the answer I need from this request?
Makes a lot of sense. You're almost logically leading him down a path.
You absolutely are, because if I say to you, hey, can I get this? I'm done. I'm absolutely done straight off the bat. So I want to position it that you don't have the ability to do that. You would literally come across like a moron by saying no, because it's not even in the in the dictionary of answers that could come out from that. It's like me saying, hey, what do you want to eat tonight? And you go, 4. This just makes no sense. So don't ask a question if you don't want that answer. But then also, the big thing is, get rid of technology. It ain't your friend. You think if you send someone an email, they're waiting for your email and they're going to pay attention to it. If you've got the phone number, you send them a text. That's great if you already have the relationship. But if you don't have the relationship, that ain't your friend. In fact, if anything, it's against you. Me and you are chatting. You've got a thick accent. Apparently, I've heard I've got an accent. But how lame was that in comparison to our emails? Our emails didn't convey any of that passion, integrity, credibility, lust for life, even just the fact that we were from different areas of the world. Had none of that in our email, did it?
You know what's funny is when I did my research prior to this conversation and I heard you talk, I was like, whoa, this guy's not from the US. I had no idea. I mean, I figured that I was like talking to just like, you know, the next door neighbor when I was emailing you until I heard that interview, which you're exactly right. I would have never known unless we had this conversation.
One of the tricks that I've started doing, and they're all tricks, let's be honest. But whenever I take on a new member to the team, as a client, I do a video email. And I just grab the iPhone and I get to travel around a fair bit. Like I did one the other day and I was in Venice. So I did this little, hey, welcome to the club. I just heard from one of my team that you've just joined up and we're going to be doing some awesome things for something like that. But I'm on a Riva speedboat going through the canals of Venice. And then you just email that to someone and well, he's traveling overseas, he's ugly, and he's British. And there's all these elements that make you very noticeable. And at the end of the day, we all need to be noticed within business.
You're a handsome gentleman. But that is so right, man. I mean, I find that most people that I interact with are just bored as hell. And what that does is it presents you an opportunity to stand out and to offer delight in their life. And that'll go a long way.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, man, that's such a good idea. I think the personal video follow-up is just like not used enough. And I actually the person who introduced us, Jason Gaynard, is really, really good at that. He runs Mastermind Talks, and I've seen him go as far as, you know how they have like the LinkedIn reviews?
Yep.
You ever seen those recommendations or even an Amazon review? I see all these ones in text, and I came across a profile, maybe it was for a book, where Jason actually did a video interview instead of just like the words spoken out. And for me, I was like, wow, this guy really went the extra effort for me. And if he, or for this person, and I imagine that if Jason ever needed that person to go the extra mile for him, that it would be a no-brainer because Jason's led by doing that.
Jason's a great example of that video newsletter. He does it very well. One of the best in his game, because you speak to Jason, smart guy, you email Jason, sharp dude, you get this video from him, and he's like this smiley best buddy of you. I'm not sure if he had a bad day in his life. He's got this grin. I had a video from him the other day. My daughter walked past and she's like, "Who's that? He's so happy." And he is all the time.
Yeah, his happiness is infectious.
Yep, and that's back to that passion we were talking about.
One question that I have for you, and I think other people might have, is as our networks grow, as the number of people that we want to just love and serve in our lives expands, managing all of that becomes a real challenge, and exercising the degree of thoughtfulness that we want with our networks, with the people that we care about, it just becomes a challenge as things expand. I'm curious if you have a system for managing all of your contacts and information, because it really sounds like that's the lifeblood of your business.
I do, but the first thing that needs to happen is you need to change your perception on that task. I don't know if you're married or single, but this weekend you may want to go and do something, okay? How hard is it that you phone up your buddies to get them together to go out on a Saturday night? That's the phone call you want to have, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, I only deal with people I like. So I actually, every now and then, just for no reason whatsoever, will just phone up these people and go, "Hey, Scott, how you doing? I know we haven't touched base for a couple of weeks, but didn't want you to forget my voice. I wanted to find out what you're up to. Did you do this? Did you do that? You know, where you going next?" Just phone your buddies. If that phone call in your Rolodex is for a client that's making you a lot of money, but you don't like, that's the one you got to dump. Now, I know it's tough, and it's incredibly tough, but dump them and then phone up 3 of the clients you really do like and say, "Hey, I've got an opening for another couple of clients I can look after. If you got someone that you love, that you think I would love, send them my way. You know I'll give them the same attention I do you." And fill up that void.
I love it, man. It's so funny. I feel like we're so quick to always want to add things to our life. Like the answer is always addition when it comes to happiness. Like, oh, if I just do this, if I get more of this and I get more of that. But it sounds like elimination might actually be the formula.
Oh my God, you've got to harvest. You have got to go through that database. And even when you get to a situation where you've got these clients, but they're just maybe not doing as much now. I had a couple of clients, I'll give you a perfect example. Loved them to death. Well, still love them. They got married, they had 3 kids, everything's calmed down. They've now really calmed down. They don't use us. And last year, they had to renew their membership. And I contacted them and I said, "Look, I don't want you upset by this, but I'm not renewing your membership." And they were like, "Oh, what is it?" I said, No. I said, "Look, don't be upset. But what's the point of me taking $5,000 off of you, you not using it, and then me still calling you a friend? You know, that's not right." So when you do want this, when you think you want to get up to something a bit fun, when you have the time, and I have 3 kids, I know what it's like. You go through chapters in your life when you can do things, you can't do things. When you hit that next break and you need me, you've got my number. So I just told the client that when they're ready, they don't need to pay the $5,000 to get a hold of my phone number. They already had it. But it gave them the chance to understand that I wasn't thinking of the dollar, I was thinking of them. And I'm still going to stay in contact with them. I'll still send them letters, which is something I'll come to in a second. I'll still stay in contact, but it now releases the time for me to concentrate on people that do need me on a day-to-day basis.
That's really smart. I mean, not only is that going to serve that person best, but you're going to serve yourself best by freeing up that capacity. And you're also going to serve yourself best because this person knows that you're a true friend.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I don't want to chase the money. I don't want to chase the money. And I think if you phone someone and you tell them that, I think it comes across better.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, I hear you loud and clear. So what's this letter thing all about? You've definitely piqued my interest.
I have, and you can't see it, but I think there's maybe about 150. Since June, I've been traveling a lot, an incredible amount. It's just ridiculous. And every hotel I go to, one of my requests is that I have 20, I usually ask for 50, but I get 20 envelopes from that hotel. and you know the ones in the stationery, the Four Seasons and that kind of thing. And then what I do is I will scribble a little message, put it in the envelope, and send it to my clients. Now, here's a little cheat for you. I have here about 150 envelopes that range from my stay in Florence, Rome, Krakow, Poland, and London. And actually, I've still got some Shangri-La ones from when I was up with Jason in Toronto. And I'm going to get handwritten clients' addresses on those. And I'm going to take them with me when I go back to Rome next week. We've got to finish off some stuff. I'm going to take them with me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find something, cooking recipe, something I've seen on the in-flight. I looked at, you know, that Sky Mall with all the weird stuff you can buy on a plane?
I love Sky Mall.
I get those and I just rip out 70 pages, rip those pages in half with a Sharpie going, hey, Scott, you need this in your garden. And there'd be like this moving gargoyle or something.
I know the gargoyle you're talking about.
I saw you on the review. But I'll send it to you. And what will happen is you'll get an envelope from Florence, Italy. And of course, it's got the logo of the hotel on it, and it's got the Italian postmark. And you'll be like, what the hell is this? More importantly, it's handwritten envelope. And you'll be like, what the hell is this? And you'll open it up and you'll see that gargoyle from Sky Mall. And it'll make you smile. And there's my contact. It gives you a reason to go, Steve, you're an idiot. I've already got 4 of these. I don't need any more. But I'm in your mind. And I've taken the time to handwrite this little note for you. It's so cool, so more powerful than sending someone an email going, hey, Scott, I was thinking about you. Sod that. Get your coffee, handwrite a little note to Scott, and just go, hey, Scott, you need another gargoyle.
Oh, man. That is so good. Ah, God, that's so good. I love it, man. It reminds me of something that we used to do. I used to do when I was doing like software partnerships and stuff. We would just take goofy pictures around the office, and then we would attach them to emails. And at the end in the email, we'd say like, P.S. like, check out this new toy that we got in the office, and we'd be holding like a super soaker or something in front of our office sign. And I mean, this is a minor example of what you're talking about, but just like that delight that you created for that person will be more memorable and go farther than, heck, even if you just send them like $100 check.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it would. And that was one of the, when I was with Jason, when I spoke at his mastermind event, that was the point of my conversation. It was about dumping technology and just writing someone a note.
You've sold me here, man. My cell phone's going to be getting a little less love over the next couple of days.
Well, you've got to make sure the cell phone gets the love, but you've got to get your ass off that email, because email is what you use to send people invoices.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. So I have to ask, Steve, you're in the business of creating personal dreams, making them happen. It's a pretty awesome drug to deal. What are some of your personal dreams that you haven't yet fulfilled that we might see some pictures of you doing on Facebook or something at some point in your life?
God, dear. Do you know, I remember when I started getting into this and it started to actually pay my lifestyle and we realized that there was a business here. The first thing I did was go, I want to drive a Formula One car, and I want to eat at the top of Eiffel Tower, and I want to go to the White House. And you had all these dreams, but I found that my dreams are more boring than a client that phones up and says, hey, I want to go down and see the Titanic, or I want to actually have my daughter walk the New York Fashion Week runway, or, I want to have dinner with Sting. I had a client a little while ago that he wanted to have dinner with certain people. So we organized, he had dinner with the Trump family and then another time with Mark Burnett. And those kind of things I would never have thought about. So I have to admit, by now, I live vicariously through my clients.
That's very cool.
Getting a phone call being told, Steve, you need to be like last weekend. Last weekend was just sick. Last weekend, I went to Krakow in Poland, and I went to, and this would all arrange this, we went to the Andre Bocelli concert in Krakow, and then at halftime, went backstage to meet the gentleman. And you're there with your clients, and you're all saying hello to one of the greatest voices in the world, Andre Bocelli. It was just incredible. But on top of that, it's in South Poland. What just a cool weekend is that?
Yeah, that is so cool, man. I mean, what a rewarding thing to do with your time and energy.
It's fun. You know, I have a real giggle. You know, I don't get any sympathy for my travels, that's for sure.
I believe that. Well, Steve, this has been such a pleasure. I'm walking away from this interview not only entertained and inspired, but also with a few cool new tricks to help step my game up in terms of building those relationships, getting access to cool opportunities, experiences, and making the people in my life that I care about grateful that I'm a part of it. So I thank you for that, man. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, I'm pleased to help, and I hope there may be just one element that can be utilized, and from there, it'll enhance your life and your client's life. Let's be honest, if they're smiling, you're smiling.
Amen, brother. Where can people go if they want to learn more about you and all the things that the Bluefish provides?
Well, there's a few things you need to be aware of. They can go to thebluefish.com. They can send me an email, and the only thing I'm going to say is make it interesting. If it's a dull email, it will never make its way to me. One of the things that I do want to do, and I'm going to give a massive plug here for the worst business in the world.
Plug away.
Right. At 12 o'clock today, so in 30 minutes, I launch a company called Blue Cause. And Blue Cause, B-L-U-E, cause, C-A-U-S-E.com, is a website for charities where celebrities donate their experiences. And here's where it's the worst business in the world. 100% of the money that's raised for the charity goes direct to the charity. We don't even have a bank account for this company. It is the most profitless drain on our resources that we have within our group, and probably going to be one of the coolest things we're doing. And the people behind it, we got Victoria's Secrets. You'll see it. Tune in about an hour's time. Victoria's Secrets, Mikhail Gorbachev actually have dinner with the former head of Russia. Sting, we got the Golden Globes, we got Estelle for a little event in Los Angeles, Stella McCartney, Paul McCartney's daughter and fashion icon. So all of these really cool things. Brad Pitt's doing stuff with us. It's all going to be on this website. You can bid on it. All the money goes to the charity. So you get 100% tax deduction, and you don't lose any of the fees by greedy little bastards taking that clip.
Steve, you had me at Victoria's Secret, man. And, you know, although that might drain your bank account, it sounds like it'll certainly fill your heart with fulfillment, which is what we all really want at the end of the day, man. So kudos for putting that together.
It's going to be fun.
I can't wait to check it out. Steve, thanks again, man. This has been amazing. I really appreciate your time, and I'm just excited to see Blue Cause unfold.
Yeah, so am I. We want to make a difference. That's our next passion project.
Before we finish up with today's Mindshare, I just want to say thanks for listening to another episode of The Competitive Edge. If you enjoyed the ideas in this episode and want access to future conversations, the best thing you can do is subscribe to The Competitive Edge on iTunes. If you haven't done that already, right now is the best time to take care of that and get on board. And while you're there, if you feel like this show has made a positive impact on your day, it'd be great if you could leave us an iTunes review so that more people can find the show. Now, I know we covered a lot in this episode, and there might be a few key ideas or tools that you want to remember. So we went ahead and compiled all of the notes and links mentioned from this conversation for you on lifelonglearner.com. That's life-longlearner.com. Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive into today's Mindshare. All right. Awesome stuff from Steve Sims. Man, he is a champ. And today I thought we could really just touch upon a principle that is becoming more and more apparent in my life that I think that we should start to just really think about developing and creating for ourselves if we don't have it. What is that principle, you ask? It's pretty simple. Proximity is power. Now, what I mean here is that Steve has all of this amazing access to create all these amazing opportunities for both himself and other people, which in many cases are his clientele. And the reason that he can do that is all of the relationships that he's cultivated over the years. Not to mention he's an incredibly resourceful guy. But what's cool is that the optionality for him creating what's possible is vastly expanded because of how close he is with all these different people around the world. And again, the closeness is enhanced by things that he does, like the letters that we talked about, the phone calls, all that good stuff. So what I think that we should think about is developing a proximity engine or developing a proximity platform that gets you closer to people whose life you can enhance and who can enhance your life. And for me, like, guess what? That's what this podcast is. It is an easy way for me to reach out, hopefully provide a lot of value to everybody listening, but also provide value to people that I want to get to know. And as I get to know more and more people, the scope of what I can do and what's possible grows. Let me give you a few examples. Right now I'm working on a couple different projects, and one of them is importing a product from China and potentially white labeling it. Another one was the Gorilla Butter project that you guys might have heard about. If I didn't have like a network like a lot of people, what I would do is I would go and Google stuff and try to figure stuff out on my own and pound my head against the wall, and it would be really, really challenging. But like Steve, my approach is whenever I'm trying to accomplish something is, okay, who do I know? And of all the people I know, like, I'm going to send them an email that makes sense they might be able to help me out. And I'm going to get my answer just way faster, or I'm at least going to get connected to somebody who might be able to help me out. And with both of these instances, I've gotten connected to people who've done this before and can give me the blueprint of exactly what I need to do and what I need to watch out for. This increases the velocity that I'm able to do things, as well as the likelihood that I'm actually able to get them done. So what I'm getting at here is, like, it is uncertain what you're going to do in the future, but one thing is certain is that the fastest way to get where you want to go is people. That's never going to change. So if you develop something that is going to get you in front of more and more people, that's going to enhance, build relationships, and going to really allow you to unlock these type of opportunities with speed, you're going to be in a really good position to go and do whatever you want. For me, that platform is the podcast. Before that, it was the New York Personal Development Meetup. Before that, it was a business development newsletter that allowed me to connect with people. Before that, I was doing video interviews in my blog. Before that, I was putting on a breakfast where I bought bagels for a bunch of startup founders in New York City and invited them to get together for feedback. All of these things take different forms, but the bottom line is they are platforms that allowed me to connect with people and build these relationships that ultimately resulted in power. So if you want to do this and you want to build a proximity engine, start a podcast, start a blog, start an interview show, start a conference, start a meetup, start something where it's very easy for you to provide value to other people that you want to put in your circle. And, I was talking to a friend of mine and he was like, yeah, I'm just really like not loving like providing like very detailed feedback to all these people one by one. And it's just like taking me a lot of time. And the advice I had from him was like, dude, build one of these proximity engines. Create some type of asset or platform that you can leverage to get close to people and by making their lives better, so that you don't have to do this over and over again and really provide this incredibly detailed feedback, because it's just easier and it's more fun. So I just encourage you guys to just think about the fact of proximity is power, and that no matter what you do, this is a worthy investment of your time and energy because it is so scalable and it really is adaptive regardless of what you decide to pursue. So that's my 2 cents. I really hope you like this interview. I really encourage everyone to check out Steve's company and Steve's new project. It sounds absolutely amazing. And I'll see you next time on The Competitive Edge.